Hello, it's Karen Burniston here with my monthly designer challenge video. The theme this month is Mod Valentines, and the idea is to make the card using a non-traditional Valentine's Day color scheme. My card today is going to be a tripled Heart Collage Pop-up in a slimline card. To make the card, I started with a heavyweight piece of black cardstock, 8 3/4 inches wide by 7.5 inches, scored in the center for folding. And then I cut 6 paper panels to fit inside the card. So each of those panels is 2 3/4 by 3 1/4. And I found that the easiest way to attach those so that they would be butted up next to each other and straight in the card was to temporarily tape them to each other and then add the set of 3 papers as a single unit to the card. I wouldn't want to layer the pattern papers on top of each other for this type of card because it could create a catch point for the collages. And once the paper is glued inside, then I can remove the tape. I'm measuring 1 3/8 of an inch, which is the center of each paper panel, and just putting a pencil line on the center fold. This is going to help me get even spacing on my 3 collage mechanisms. The mechanism that I'm using today comes out of our Heart Collage Pop-up die set. And for this one, you really would like a heavyweight smooth cardstock. I chose white 100-pound cardstock. 2 of the spinner arms are offset with a score line. So by folding on the score line and then moving those arms to the back, they're in the correct position. And then flipping over to the back, I want to go ahead and glue those down, but just in that triangle area. I don't want to accidentally glue down the arm so that it attaches to the section that has to fold away later. So just in those little triangle areas, I want to put a strong adhesive. I like glue for this. I'm using my LINECO neutral pH adhesive in my fine tip bottle, and we do sell both of those items on our website. Flipping over to the front again and just verifying that I didn't accidentally pin anything down, I want to start working the middle folds, except that I have glue everywhere. Let me just get rid of that. Okay, straight fold first, fold to the back, then the diagonals, and I fold through both layers going in both directions. And then bringing the piece to flat again, I can start closing it towards myself, but also working those little mountain areas to fold inward as I do. So just trying to get those triangle areas to fold into the piece. This is the closed position of that spinner mechanism. And then I just repeat that 2 more times to get the other 2 spinners to this point. I'm going to glue just one side of each spinner into the card for now. So just putting the glue on the flat spot underneath the spinner, it doesn't matter which side. My glue issues are stemming from the fact that I just filled the bottle right before I started working on this video, and it had been nearly empty, so I was used to squeezing a little harder. So I'm going to try to remember to not squeeze quite so hard going forward. So that little hole in the center of the mechanism is great for helping line it up directly over the fold so that I can see my pencil line through the opening. And now I'm going to repeat that process for the other 2 mechanisms. Once again, just gluing in one side for now and using that center hole to look down through and see the pencil line that I put on the center fold. And then that also helps me make sure that the folds in the mechanism are perfectly aligned with the fold of the card. I did have the choice to glue both halves of the mechanism in. That's what I show in the assembly video. And in that case, I would have to kind of partially close the card to be able to get these notches together. But by gluing in only one half, it's pretty easy to just twist the mechanism itself to slide those notches together on each one. And I do want to make sure that they're completely slid together. So make sure the notches go until they stop. So now if I pick up the card and just back fold it a little bit, I'll have access to add my glue to the other half of the mechanism. And I'm going to go ahead and add my glue to all 3 at one time. And then as far as attaching them, I will do that with the card flat. So I'll just go in there now and press those 3 halves of the mechanisms to the card. For training the mechanisms the first time, I want to go slowly. I want to just get my thumbs right into the center fold of the card while I carefully close it and just pay attention to the spinners that they're all starting to move, come forward into the card, spin into that closed position. And then with pop-ups, you can always give them a good press in the closed position. Okay, first thing I notice is that I've got 2 little arms sticking out of the side of the card. So I need to figure out which 2 those are and trim them down a little bit to fit. So I can see here that it's this upper arm on the right. So just making sure that I snip that down. And then whatever I add to that arm, I need to make sure that it goes no higher than the end of the arm. Same thing with this one over here, it's the lower arm. So snip a little bit of that one off And then now it's going to stay within the limits of the card when the card is closed. Look at how generic that is. You could add anything to those spinners. There are decorator dies included in the Heart Collage Pop-up. So this bigger scalloped one works perfectly as the center heart of the collage, but for that one I'm going to need a fold up the middle. So I'm going to really work that fold in both directions so that it is a loose fold, making it easier to unfold when the card opens. So for decorating shaped collages, the adhesive needs to go on the pop-up mechanism, and that way you make sure that you don't have any stray adhesive that could stick your card closed. So I'm just lining up the fold of the heart with the fold in the mechanism and then just getting it on there attached well. And then the secret with the shape collages is to check every single thing that you add. So as you add it, then go in and close the card and make sure that it is not creating any catch points. I did that same thing 2 more times, and now all of my little collage mechanisms have a center heart. Now I could stick just with the hearts that come in the Heart Collage Pop-up. There are plenty. If you want to watch the die assembly video and see how those 3D hearts work, that will be linked at the end of this one. For today's card though, I wanted to show incorporating some other dies onto the collages. So I'm going to use the XOXO out of Word Set 9 Love, and then I'm also going to use some of our Love Charms. We do have dies that are made for taking ink. This one doesn't happen to be one of them, but that doesn't mean I can't ink it. It just means that I'm going to get a more grungy kind of splotchy effect. So I'm going to press that into some ink, use my magnetic pickup tool to move it to my die cutting machine, and then roll it through. There is a stencil feature on that die, so I'm going to trace the heart on using a pen. And I added score tape to the back of the white cardstock before die cutting just to give that piece a little more cushion since I was inking it. However, I really don't want it to be a sticker. So I'm going to cut the hole off at the top since I'm not using it as a charm. And then I'm going to peel off the liner and attach it to another Love Note die that I had already cut. And then I'm just going to use a brush marker on the edges to turn them black. And then I changed my mind and decided I wanted the hearts on the Love Notes to be black, but I did add a little glitter to the top of them using a glitter pen. Oh my goodness, me and glue and ink today. Look what I've managed to do. I have an ink splot right on my card in a position where an arm comes down. And that means I can't just put a small item to cover it because I can create a catch point. So I gave it a little think and figured out what to do. I'm taking 2 of the dies out of our large Crosshatch hearts set, nested them together, and created silver hearts. One big solid one to cover up my splotch, and then a frame for the other side to make it look intentional. So here's why this works. Because it's a large enough piece that the arm of the mechanism is going to start already up on the heart, and so then there's nothing for it to catch against as it slides down into the closed position. And then to make this look like a design choice, I'm going to add the big heart frame on the other side. Now this works because I'm going to make sure that the arm of the mechanism starts within the opening of the heart. So see, it's just going to slide through the interior of the frame, and again, will not create a catch point unless I put something on it that can catch at the bottom of the frame. So I just have to watch what I put on that arm. Okay, crisis solved. Now I can get on with my decorating. I'm going to start with these arrow hearts from the Love Charms, and I've actually used temporary tape to attach them to the center hearts of each of my collages to check the location for catch points before I make them permanent with glue. And then I just carefully remove the tape. So that's one way to check items for catch points before you make them permanent with glue, or you can just work really quickly with your glue where you still have time to move things. But you do have to be flexible with shape collages because there are a lot of potential catch points. Like these arrows, I'm not going to glue them down permanently, and that way I can kind of move them around as I continue adding to the collage. My upper arm items need to be positioned so they're more to the left of the arm so that they have room to slide down into the fold in the closed position. So the upper and lower arms slide, but the side arms flip, so a different motion. And that little love note there on my side arm is flipping over into the closed position, but also catching a little bit on my arrow. And I'm glad I don't have that arrow glued down so that I can find a good position for it. And I already trimmed this arm a little bit to keep it within the card. And the location for my love note that I liked the best actually didn't come all the way out to the end, so I'll trim off a little bit more. The secret with shape collages is just to embrace the sort of random explosion of items. As you add an item to the collage, just check it immediately. Make sure that it doesn't create a catch point. If it does, be willing to move that item or rotate it a little bit or swap it out for a bigger or a smaller item. You can explore adding items to the background to add more visual interest, but again, you have to watch for catch points. Since there were 3 of them, I kept the collages pretty small. And then you can see I've got room at the top of the card and the bottom for items that will not interfere with the mechanism. There are some great borders included in our die set called cake trims, and those are sized to fit perfectly on our cake pop-up, but they can absolutely be used on their own just as standalone borders. And it's very easy to extend them by just cutting multiples. So 2 of the heart borders will fit perfectly across the top of my card. And then I can also use all of the little hearts that came out of the middle of that border and then add some little small ones to my collage. I added a 1-inch strip of black cardstock along the bottom of my card, just checking location. And then for a greeting, I'm going to use our Happy Valentine's Day die. Now that actually comes as a single piece, but it's very easy to snip out the words to make them individuals. I just need to make sure that I grab the apostrophe that's attached to the end of the Y and glue it on as its own piece in the right position. I didn't spend a lot of time centering that correctly, so I've got a little extra space on the right here. I'll add a heart set to make that look like a design choice instead of just a poor centering job. My favorite way to make card fronts for pop-up cards is just to use my leftover materials for a simple lead-in. And for this card, because there is so much visual interest on the inside, I'm going to keep the front very simple. So kind of a nod to the inside background that has the striped papers, but this time going with horizontal stripes. And I like to work on the card front off of the card and then just glue the finished design to the front. There really wasn't a good spot for a signing block, so I'm going to put that on the back. What's nice about slimlines is that they fit in a number 10 business envelope, and that typically is a single stamp card. Now this one happens to be pretty rigid and also a little heavy because of all of the layers, so I'll probably have to add the extra ounce stamp to it. So it was definitely fun to do the challenge of trying to think of non-traditional color schemes for Happy Valentine's Day. If you're more of a traditional color type of person, great. Just think of this as a technique. You can absolutely think of this card, how pretty it would be in reds and pinks and whites, maybe some craft. So just swap out the colors and make it your own. And the triple collage in a slimline card, that's also generic. So swap out the charms for some of our other sets. Want to make this baby triple collage? Maybe it's going to be a happy hour triple collage. Really have fun with the technique. Check the description box below this video for supply links as well as a link to the blog post. That's where you'll find all of the wonderful mod Valentine inspiration by our very talented design team. Thanks for watching. If you click on the website link, you'll go to KarenBerniston.com where you can purchase these dies as well as find links to our other social media accounts. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out some of my other videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.